Welcome to my channel, States of Heart. It started on a Monday morning, the kind of morning where the sun seems just a little too bright, and everything feels too normal to warn you about what's coming. I was sipping coffee in the driveway when my daughter, Emily, stepped out in her neat blue uniform, her hair tied perfectly, her backpack almost as big as her dreams. She was only 13, kind-hearted, quiet, and focused, the kind of kid who never looked for trouble. But that day, trouble found her. Emily went to Riverside Middle School, a place that should have been about learning and friendship, but in our neighborhood. Even the school had the HOA's shadow hanging over it. The Homeowners Association, or HOA, ran the community like a private empire. They weren't just about lawns and fences, they controlled people with rumors, intimidation, and power games. And the worst part? Their kids acted just like them. That morning, 3 of those kids, Samantha, Tyler, and Max, were waiting near the bike racks. They were the children of HOA board members. They ruled the schoolyard with the same arrogance their parents ruled the neighborhood. Emily had ignored them for months. She believed in peace, not in confrontation. But peace has a limit. As she parked her bike, Samantha sneered, "Hey, little dojo girl, heard your dad can't even pay the HOA fees. Guess karate doesn't teach you how to pay bills." Emily froze, her hand gripping the handlebar. She could take insults. She'd trained her mind to be stronger than her emotions. But then Tyler stepped closer, laughing, and shoved her shoulder. She stumbled, not hard, but enough to make the group laugh. And then Max did the unforgivable. He tripped her. Emily fell, her knees scraping the ground, her books scattering across the concrete. The laughter echoed, loud and cruel. She looked up, her face calm, but her eyes, they changed. Those bullies didn't know that behind her silence was 5 years of disciplined training, 3 state titles, and a black belt she'd earned through sweat, pain, and patience. She stood up slowly, brushed off the dust, and said in a soft voice, "You shouldn't have done that." Tyler smirked. "Or what? You gonna karate chop us?" But before his laughter could fade, he lunged forward again, and that was his mistake. In a single movement, Emily sidestepped, gripped his wrist, and flipped him cleanly onto his back. The sound of his body hitting the pavement silenced everyone. Max froze, disbelief in his eyes. Samantha's jaw dropped. Emily didn't strike again. She simply stood there, calm and controlled. The way her sensei had taught her, the goal of karate is not to fight, but to end the fight. A teacher rushed over just in time to see Tyler groaning on the ground. Within minutes, parents were called. When I arrived at the school, the principal, the HOA president, and Samantha's mother, Mrs. Green, were already in the office. She looked furious, pointing at my daughter like she was some kind of criminal. "Your daughter attacked my son?" She snapped. "This kind of violence is unacceptable. We'll make sure she's suspended." I looked at Emily, calm, steady, respectful, then back at the woman. "Did you see what happened?" I asked. "Everyone saw her throw him to the ground," she said, folding her arms. But then the school security officer walked in holding a tablet. "Actually, ma'am," he said, "we reviewed the camera footage, played the video." There it was, clear as day. Samantha and her friends mocking Emily, Tyler shoving her, Max tripping her, the laughter, the fall, and then Emily standing up and defending herself with precise, restrained movements, no excessive force, no aggression, just discipline. Mrs. Green's expression twisted from anger to shock. The principal cleared his throat. "It seems Emily acted in self-defense." Silence filled the room. Mrs. Green muttered, "She still hurt my son." I looked right at her and said, "Maybe your son will learn something valuable. Never push someone who's stronger in silence than you are in noise." Ow. That night, word spread across the neighborhood faster than wildfire. The HOA members whispered about it at their little meetings, some calling me to keep my daughter in check. I didn't apologize. Because that day, Emily had taught the whole community something the HOA had forgotten. Real strength doesn't need power, titles, or rules to protect it. It's earned, not given. A few days later, an unexpected visitor knocked on our door. Sensei Tanaka, Emily's karate instructor. He'd heard about the incident. Instead of anger, he smiled. You did well, he told Emily. You didn't fight for pride. You stood for respect. That is the true spirit of martial arts. He then looked at me. Most people think karate is about fists. It's not. It's about character. That line stayed with me. Weeks passed. The HOA tried to hold their usual meetings, complaining about fence colors, lawn heights, and decorum. But things were different. Parents started asking questions. Why were the HOA kids acting entitled? Why did the adults think they could rule everyone? The bullies who once laughed at Emily now kept their distance, not out of fear, but out of a strange new respect. One afternoon, Samantha approached Emily quietly during lunch. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't know you were that good." Emily smiled softly. "You don't have to know what someone can do to treat them right." That moment changed everything. It wasn't about karate anymore. It was about empathy, about seeing strength in others even when they're quiet. By the end of the school year, Emily was nominated for Student of the Year, not just for her grades, but for her courage and grace under pressure. Her principal even invited her to demonstrate at the school's cultural event, a showcase of martial arts, discipline, and respect. When she stepped onto the stage in her white uniform, the same students who once laughed at her now clapped in admiration. She bowed, focused, and performed her kata, each movement precise, elegant, powerful. And among the crowd, I saw something rare, Mrs. Green clapping too. Maybe guilt. Maybe realization. Maybe respect. When the lights dimmed and the event ended, I walked up to Emily. "You made me proud," I said. She smiled. "I just did what you and Sensei taught me. Stay calm. Stand tall, and never use strength to hurt someone. Only to protect." That night, I wrote a letter to the school not to complain, not to accuse, but to thank them for standing by fairness. And to the HOA. I didn't need to say a word, because sometimes silence speaks louder than any confrontation. The same families who once sneered at us began waving in the mornings. The whispers faded. The respect grew. Life moved on. Emily trained harder than ever. By the next year, she won the National Youth Karate Championship. Reporters came, articles were written, and suddenly, the same neighborhood that once judged her started calling her our local hero. Funny how people change their tone when they realize what quiet strength looks like. And if there's one thing I learned from that day, it's this. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never assume silence means submission. Because sometimes, the calmest soul in the room carries the power to break limits and the discipline not to. Emily didn't just defend herself. She defended every kid who's ever been bullied, underestimated, or pushed around by power and privilege. She taught everyone that true power doesn't come from hurting others, it comes from controlling yourself. This is States of Heart, where stories of courage, honor, resilience remind us that heroes come in many forms, even in school uniforms. Because sometimes, the smallest fighter carries the biggest heart.